Welcome everybody to Talk from the Top show. My name's Alex and I'm your host. And our guest today is the successful British actor who has starred in 3 James Bond films as Charles Robinson. He is also a trumpeter and cricket fan, Colin Salmon. Hi Colin, how are you?
Hello. Hey Alex, good to be here. Yeah, trumpeter and cricket fan, you're right, yeah.
So in an interview that I saw, you said that you only had a trumpet, a bicycle, 5 books and a sleeping bag. So how did you get from this to starring in 3 James Bond films and other mainstream productions?
That's a very good question, Alex. Well, I came up from Luton, and I'd had a tough towards the end of my teens and the early 20s. It was just a bit rough back then, and then things hadn't quite worked out. So when I left there, I stayed in a flat down in Kilburn, and I literally was busking on the street. And I'd been doing some stuff in drama therapy. So I was working in drama therapy in the 80s. It was really good for me, that, because it sort of, I'd had problems myself, mental health issues. And so, but then I was working, you had to work in a psychiatric hospital, a children's home, and with people with severe mental handicaps. So these people, Alex, were beyond authoritarianism, which means they don't understand no. So the only way we could teach them was through stories drama therapy literally was allowing them to tell their story. So we made them feel safe, and we made them, we encouraged them to express themselves. At the time of this, when I was living in the squat, I literally had a roll of the floor carpet, a bicycle, 5 books, particular books, my trumpet, and that was all I owned, really. And I sort of was having my phase of, I don't know how to put it, really. It was like being out on the road a bit. You know, it was tough, but it was also quite liberating not to have anything. I bussed outside the Tri-School Theatre when I was living like that, living really simply. And it had been tough. I'd lost my girlfriend and things were down. And I just saw this play called The Great White Hope by Howard Sackler. And it was about the heavyweight champion, of the first black heavyweight champion of the world, Jack Johnson. So I just thought, oh, Miles Davis did an album. I thought I'd stand outside and busk. And I did play. And a couple of the actors came out, gave me a ticket to see the show. And I went. And then I was bussed at the end, and everybody sort of liked what I was doing. So they invited me back. So I started to go back to the theatre every night and built up a friendship group. And eventually they wrote a part for me in a play called All or Nothing at All, which was about Billie Holiday. And then the theatre burnt down. But by then I'd met my now wife, Fiona, and we've been together 34 years. She met me when I was a busker. Yeah, here we are. We're married, 4 children later. And the love of a good woman or a good partner is key to it all. And I started to believe in myself and try things, and started to gig with my band and do stuff. And then the play finally went up. It got a lot of success critically, and a casting director who saw it, and it was my first time on stage professionally, cast me in a show called Prime Suspects, which won an Emmy. So that was my first TV show. And the producers of the Bond saw that and brought me in for GoldenEye, and that didn't work out. And then brought me back in for Tomorrow Never Dies. And I ended up screen testing Bond girls, and there was no part for me. And then Michael Kitchen, who played Tanner, had to pull out because of another commitment. So they wrote the character to Charles Robinson, and that's how I ended up in the Bonds. And I think I would say to anybody, literally, it was like all or nothing at all. If you love books, love poetry, love art, enjoy what you do. If you play music, if you create paintings, just do it with all your heart. And there are people out there who will see it, and they will help you. And that's what happened. And it's extraordinary, because it really was all or nothing at all. And it's been a great journey. Yeah.
So was it always your dream to star in a James Bond film alongside the people like Dame Judi Dench and Pierce Brosnan?
Was it my dream to star in a James Bond film? I never really thought about a James Bond film, because it just didn't seem like something I'd ever do. I was a massive Harry Palmer fan, actually. I like Michael Caine and Ipcrest File and all that stuff. Of course, I knew the Bonds and Moonraker, and my dad's from Jamaica, so we had that we knew about Bond in terms of GoldenEye, and that was the case. But to work with Judi, yeah, I always knew I'd love to work with great actors like Judi Dench, and then Pierce Brosnan I knew from Remington Steele, and it just became, the opportunity arose. And of course, and there's something I would say to everybody is, it's often the case when you meet the best, they are really quite generous and kind, and they are open. So as soon as I met them, it was a joy to work with them, and yeah, I'm still friends with them, and yeah, it's a dream come true, really. Yeah.
James Bond, it's a huge production. So how different is it to star in James Bond than to star in a production like Resident Evil?
The working on James Bond movies is a bit like, I've likened it to sort of getting your England cap. It's like, you're being called up for your sort of your national squad. Yeah, it's top of the game. But one of the things that I loved about Bond as well is, and I've worked on independent films and films like Resident Evil, is when you're going to do something and it's very you're striking out into a new terrain, which we were with Resident Evil, and Paul Anderson is a very good director. You sort of get this team mentality, so the football analogy works actually. And Bond, as big as it is, it still feels like an independent film. You're working for a family, and I mean Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson are, producers, and Cubby Broccoli, obviously, their dad was the original. So there's a family around it, and everybody's doing their best, doing their best. And people say that a lot, but really on Bond, everybody's doing their best, because you have a responsibility to the British film industry and the film to make the best Bond you can possibly make. Now, when you're making an independent film or a smaller low-key film like the Resident Evil, Paul Anderson had the skill of taking a £40 million film and making it look like a £100 million film. So his skill was prep. So they were very similar in some ways, those two films. But then the key is with everything you do is to try and create that team environment and realize you're part of the team. And for me personally, now I would often talk to young actors and say, we are the acting department. So we are no bigger or better than the lighting department or makeup department. We're just part of that team. And therefore, if we get our job right and everybody else does theirs, it all works. So the biggest thing with the Bond, it's so globally known, and therefore you cannot hide your everywhere. So you lose a bit of your privacy, but apart from that, it's very similar. Yeah.
So obviously during your lifetime, you've played trumpet and you've also done acting. So which one have you practiced more at, and which do you think you're better at, trumpet playing or acting?
That's a very good question. I think I loved my trumpet. I love playing in the trumpet. I played since I was 7. I was in the Salvation Army. My granddad gave me the trumpet. And the trumpet is very important to me because it's like in my meditation. So that's something I have to do it. I do it every day. I play. And I don't practice so much as play. I play every day. It's a bit like football, I mean, I like playing, which is probably why I would say I'm a better actor than I am a trumpet player, because with the acting, because I wasn't trained in the normal sense of the word, I just don't leave anything to chance with that. I do all the prep and I work really hard on learning my lines and accents and things like that. Whereas with trumpet, I just enjoy playing. So that's more, like I say, that's like a meditation for me. Yeah, so I would say I'm a better actor than I am trumpet player. But I think at the end of the day, with all of these, Alex, the key is to tell the truth. So you find the truth in the song you're singing or you're playing, and then the script you're speaking. You try to find your truth in it, and then it touches people. And hopefully, whatever I'm doing, it sort of communicates, and that's important to me. But yeah, I think I'm a better actor than a trumpet player. Yeah.
So you're also heavily involved with cage cricket. So what exactly is cage cricket, and what does it do to help young people?
Right. So cage cricket's a game that I sort of dreamt it up in my mind, because I realized that, to get 11 people to play, to show up for a team, it's hard. throughout the summer, and then it's the whole day, and so I dreamt up this sort of rave, the idea of we played in a warehouse, we played in much more cool places, inner city places, because I just noticed that young people weren't playing cricket, and I just felt it sort of lost a bit of its, it wasn't sexy anymore. It's basically 6 individuals go into, say, a Muga, multi-use games area, basketball-sized court. We divide it up into 4 zones, 6 zones actually, but there's 4 coloured zones, and then there's white zone, bowler zone. Everybody has a number. You follow a sequence, and after 6 overs, everybody's faced everybody else in every position. So the game is totally fair. One of the things we worked out, because Trevor, who invented the game itself, who grew up in Somerstown, and I totally got this. When you play cricket in the street when we were kids, the best batsman would just hog the bat, and then everybody else would just eventually get bored and clear off. And when you grow up in a place that's quite hard, you don't get anybody to play with. So we had to invent a game that everybody gets a shot. So after an over, you move, and then the next person comes in. The funny thing about it is, because it was born in that environment, it's created a real optimum opportunity for everybody to be the leader. So everybody has to go into every position. And when you're in the red zone, you're the umpire. So that means everybody has to be the umpire, all 6 people. Now, the key that this is really interesting, when we went into prisons and we went into sort of quite intense places, Alex, you'd have a situation where the bully tries to dominate, right? So the bully may go into the zone and cheat a bit. But what he forgets, and it's usually a he, but there can be a she, somebody else is going to take over. So basically, when the bully's cheated, when they come out of the red zone, somebody else goes into the red zone, they can punish that person, not by doing anything heavy, but just by the letter of the law. And what we found was, after a game, these people the bully tended to modify their behavior. So they started to realize that it doesn't pay. Now, ultimately, that's the lesson we're trying to teach people, and that's about leadership. And what we found as well is that leadership has often been the person with the loudest voice or the best prowess or who's best at it. But what you find with cage cricket is it can be the quiet person who's not particularly good at batting or bowling, but when they get in the red zone, they go, hang on, what do you think? No, I hear you. Well, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to stick with my decision. And they just take control of their time. And if anything, for me, cage cricket isn't about cricket. It's about the spirit of the game and the ability to be fair, just, and have your voice be heard. That's what cage cricket can do. It teaches leadership, really, and it's fun too. You have a good time doing it.
Yeah, it sounds like a very fun game to play, and obviously teaches people a lesson. And the final question is, what is your top piece of advice for young aspiring actors?
My top piece of advice for young aspiring actors: acting is about listening. Some people think it's about talking. It's about listening, and it's about responding to what you've heard. And obviously, in the character you're playing, that's important. But that's one of the most important things, because people get so focused on the lines. Stay fit, stay healthy, don't go crazy. It's not a license to be mad. Drink plenty of water, because you need to look after your vocal cords. You need to look after your health. Be grateful for the fact you've got that opportunity. Don't moan. A lot of actors moan. It's hard, but it's a choice you make. So once you've made the choice, it's your choice. Stick with it, and read books, listen to podcasts, listen to voices, love stories, really. Yeah, I think don't be judgmental of people if you're an actor, because I think at the end of the day, everybody's part of the library. So our job isn't to be judgmental about people. It's to watch and to find out and think about I wonder how they ended up there. So, documentaries are good. And, I've heard some people say, I'd never play that. And you go, well, it depends on how it's written. Really read the script, all of the script. Don't just your bit, read it all. Because somebody's spent a lot of time working on it. So it's worth it. It's worth the time. Put the work in, do the prep, and you'll be ready to do it. And that's all the advice I can give you, really. And enjoy yourself.
So thank you, Colin. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I've really enjoyed this, and I hope you have too. Thanks for your time. It's been great.